chapters 21 through 43. When Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a great crowd gathered around him, and he was by the sea. Then one of the leaders of the synagogue, named Jairus, came, and when he saw him, fell at his feet and pleaded with him repeatedly, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her so that she may be made well and live." So he went with him. And a large crowd followed him and pressed in on him. And now there was a woman who had been suffering from a flow of blood for 12 years. She had endured much under many physicians and had spent all that she had, and she was no better now, but rather she grew worse. She had heard about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, for she said, "If I but touch his cloak, I will be made well." Immediately her flow of blood stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed of the disease. Immediately aware that power had gone forth from him, Jesus turned about in the crowd and said, "Who touched my cloak?" And his disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing in on you. How can you say, 'Who touched me?'" He looked all around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, fell down before him, and told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." While he was still speaking, some people came from the synagogue leader's house to say, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" But overhearing what they said, Jesus said to the synagogue leader, "Do not be afraid, only believe." He allowed no one to follow except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. And when they came to the synagogue leader's house, he saw a commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. And when he had entered, he said to them, "Why do you make a commotion and weep? The child is not dead, but sleeping." And they laughed at him. Then he put them all outside and took the child's father and mother and those who were with him and went in where the child was. Taking her by the hand, he said to her, "Talita kum," which means, "Little girl, get up." And immediately the girl stood and began to walk about. She was 12 years of age. At this, they were overcome with amazement. He strictly ordered them that no one should know this and told them to give her something to eat.
A couple of things related to the hymn. God does not pass you by. We are all called. So, the hymn that said, "Please don't pass me by," don't worry, you won't be passed by, right? Then, little girl, get up. Little girl, get up. Everybody get up. No, you don't have to get up right now. It's invitation to a dance, though, right? Everybody get up. Everybody get up. Everybody get up. It was 9 p.m. on Thursday night. It was 9 p.m. on Thursday night, and the debate was happening, in which a man who was not only allowed but encouraged and endorsed and made possible the way for the overturning of Roe v. Wade was saying something like, everybody wanted it, the overturning of Roe v. Wade. He was saying sickly and falsely that some democratic states allow people to execute babies after they're born, and that every legal scholar wanted Roe v. Wade overturned. Both fantastical lies. It was 9 o'clock on Thursday night, and the debate was happening. And my cousin was bleeding heavily, losing her nearly full-term baby in the hospital, and nearly her life, as I found out the next day. And Jesus is healing the hemorrhaging woman who has been bleeding for 12 years, and no one was willing to touch her or heal her because a woman bleeding was impure, because some men had said it so, and so it was the law of the land religiously endorsed and codified. Just like the law of the land here is now a religiously crafted and endorsed restriction of abortion rights. And since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, since the Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization decision on June 24th, 2022, so 2 years ago, basically, there are 14 states in which it is now entirely illegal to have an abortion. And there are many more where it is restricted. Now, I want to say something clearly. This word abortion, of course, has a lot of, emotional attachments to it. But the thing is, abortion care isn't only when a woman decides she doesn't want the pregnancy. Abortion care isn't only when a woman says, no, I don't want this now, and chooses to get abortion. What is within the realm of abortion care is when a woman has something happen to her, like my cousin. And for her own health and system being, you have to do a procedure or some kind of procedure or procedures that are categorized in this same bucket that's called abortion. A D&C. I don't know specifically my cousin's situation, all the details, but there are some procedures, right? It's not only the willful decision of a woman to end a pregnancy. It is also the unwillful fact of a body rejecting a pregnancy and what has to happen for the well-being, the life of that woman. And in those states where it is illegal for abortion now, it is also illegal for a hospital to treat a woman who's miscarrying with a D&C or whatever other care. Like, that's also illegal. And so we have heard many cases now already of women needing care and being rejected until it's sort of dire, right? And then at the final moment, and their bodies have already suffered from loss of blood, from different versions of sepsis that they're in, right? The extremities. On Thursday night, we had this debate happening. My cousin was heavily bleeding, losing her nearly full-term baby and nearly her life. And Jesus is healing a hemorrhaging woman who for 12 years no one was willing to touch. Jesus, differently than the Christian radicals who claim otherwise, Jesus actually respects women. Jesus actually regards a woman's knowledge of herself and what she needs. In this story, we have a woman who is desperate, yes, and desperation is a ground of faith often, right? A woman who is desperate because she has been bleeding for 12 years and no one is willing to deal with it. No one's willing to help heal her. Everybody's turning her away, like hospitals will turn away women now who need care, who are coming to them. And Jesus, she, of her own desperation, of her own knowledge that she deserves healing, damn it, right? Her own knowledge that she is not going to live her life this way. She's not going to just resign herself to that fact. She reaches out in a crowd, in a sea. She pushes her way through a crowd. You've been in crowds, right? Like a big concert or something, or a rally. A thick crowd of people. She pushes her way through. Somehow she has identified Jesus. I don't know what he's wearing that's so identifiable. She has seen him. She has identified him. She has decided, I'm going to claim what I believe is mine, and I'm going to access that. I have desperate faith that this might help, right? And so she goes and makes her presence known, makes her need of healing and her right for healing known, and touches Jesus. And the touching heals her, right? Her faith heals her, of course, like Jesus says, your faith has made you well. Precisely the mechanics of the healing we don't know and never will know. But the woman knows, she desperately knows what she needs. And Jesus does not turn around. He says, I love that phrase, is who has touched me? And his disciples try to say, well, who knows? Everybody's touching you. It's bump, 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 right? Like you're in a tight crowd here. And he says, no, I felt this one. Like he feels the power go from him, right? He's not annoyed at it. He's almost, I need to know who had the capacity, who was it who was able to draw that kind of power from me, who had the power in them to draw that power from me. He regards her, respects her, assures her there is no punishment, there is no shame, there is no alignment with what has been codified as religious law at that time that says this woman is impure and you ought not touch her or be touched by her. Our Jesus cares about women, and not in like a protect the women kind of way, like, you know what I mean? Not in like a women are weak so we have to take care of them kind of way. Jesus cares about the women and like they know what they need. We know what we need. Regard them, listen to them, right? He does that with every single identity that he encounters. He says, I regard you, I respect you, with his actions, with his presence. The politics of Jesus is far from anti-abortionist. The politics of Jesus is far and away not anti-woman. And we have many movements in our country today and that have been happening for many, many years, but have power now in the Supreme Court and increasing power in different niches that would claim that Christianity and an anti-abortion posture are equated, and that Christianity and a denigration of women are equated. And I say that's a lie, right? Yeah, it's a lie. The politics, there's 2 books here. I encourage you to peruse them after, if you'd like. In The Politics of Jesus, Aubrey Hendricks does a great job just helping us who love Jesus to reclaim the politics of Jesus from the false politics of Jesus that are being claimed. And it's a long analysis, but he sort of summarizes it in this way, and I want to offer it because it is true of women and it expands beyond. And this is the kind of grounding that, that's the hymn that said, I said you will not be passed by. This is the kind of grounding of the call that's upon all of us now is grounded in. That we as people who are followers in the way of Jesus, even if we are barely on the way, even if we're just like, oh my God, I want to follow Jesus, but it is so much work, right? Even if that's where we're at, like, this is still part of our call, is to be voice and body to this kind of politics of Jesus. And let me tell you a little bit of what Aubrey Hendricks describes it as. The politics of Jesus have little to do with what one calls oneself or the faith one confesses. Jesus' politics is based on principles, not slogans or self-serving rules. Principles are directions or guides as to how we should live our lives and conduct our affairs. The principles of Jesus' politics are rooted in the most foundational ethics of the Bible, especially in mishpat, which is justice, in tzaddik, which is righteousness, and in hesed, which is steadfast love. Justice, righteousness, and steadfast love. Justice, the establishment or restoration of fair, equitable, and harmonious relationships in society. In its purest form, Hendricks says, this ethic holds that everyone has the same inalienable rights as anyone else to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and wholeness. The same right of freedom from exploitation and oppression and every form of victimization. Righteousness, the love and just fulfillment of our responsibilities to others as the ultimate fulfillment of our responsibility to God. And hesed, steadfast love, simply and entirely the commandment, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. These are the base ethics of the politics of Jesus. Treat the people and their needs as holy. Treat the people and their needs as holy. We have justice, righteousness, and steadfast love. This is the kind of politics of Jesus that we need to embody and speak today. Because there's another politics that's claiming Jesus, that is, in fact, victimizing, oppressing, that is legitimately anti-justice, because it is about the restriction of freedom from certain people, from women, from LGBTQ folks, from immigrants, or anybody who might come into this country who is not, I don't know, been here since what year, I don't even know what they define, right? Like, that's not the politics of Jesus, period. So part of the calling on us is to re-engage for ourselves with, what is the politics of Jesus? How does that move? How are we called into it? I believe we feel that here. And then to speak it and embody it into this time and this place. Good morning, everybody. I wonder, I wondered if my cousin, again, I don't know the specifics, so this is some conjecture here, but I wonder if whatever had happened in her body with her baby, if she was in Texas and it was happening, I wonder if she would still be here. I wonder, right? And that's just one example, I'm going to jump a little bit, and I apologize for this rather drastic jump, but I just really like Friedrich Buechner's way of hugging us. He's so good at hugging us. If you don't know Friedrich Buechner, this words, how he kind of hugs us with this story. And so we're gonna go from, we've been talking about the hemorrhaging woman, right? And then the other one, who's the other story of healing, of new life, of resurrection, of regard, is with this 12-year-old girl, right? The daughter of Jairus. And, it's all in a scene, right? So we've had Jesus. There's so much movement in the scripture. Jesus has been on the other side of the Sea of Galilee. And at the beginning, he's now come back across. So he's on homeland. And that's where the crowd is pressing. And in the crowd first, before the woman comes in her desperate faith, assured of what she needs and asking for it, first the father of this 12-year-old girl comes and says, help me, my little daughter My little girl is struggling, is dying. And Jesus is like, okay, I'll come with you. And then he gets distracted. He gets pulled away. Healing is demanding. Healing comes, and you got to turn to it. That's also part of the politics of Jesus. Is he regards the needs of people as holy. He's going to turn around and give them the attention they're demanding, because their needs are holy. So he now gives his attention to the hemorrhaging woman, and then we come back to the little girl, and I'm gonna offer us Buechner's words here. I find them like a little hug around this. So, who knows what kind of story Mark is telling here, in terms of it's like healing and resurrection, and it's a complicated story. But the enormously moving part of it, I think, is the part where Jesus takes the little girl's hand and said, "Talitha, come. Little girl, get up. Little girl, get up." And we ourselves are suddenly the little girl. Little girl, old boy, old boys and girls with high blood pressure and arthritis, and young boys and girls with tattoos and body piercings. You who believe and you who sometimes believe and sometimes don't believe much of anything, and you who would give almost anything to believe if only you could. You happy ones, and you who hardly can remember what it was like once to be happy. You who know where you're going and how to get there, and you who much of the time aren't sure you're getting anywhere. Get up, he says. All of you. And the power that is in him is the power to give life, not just to the dead like the child, but to those who are only partly alive, which is to say people like you and me, who much of the time live with our lives closed to the wild beauty and miracle of things, including the wild beauty and miracle of every day we live, and even of ourselves. The wild beauty and miracle even of yourselves. It is that life-giving power that is the heart of this shadowy story about Jairus and his daughter, the daughter that he loved, and at the heart of our stories. The power of new life, new hope, new being, that whether we know it or not, I think keeps us coming to places like this. He's in a worship space, coming to places like this in search of it. It is the power to get up even when getting up isn't all that easy for us anymore, and to keep getting up and going on toward whatever it is, whoever Jesus is, that all our lives long reaches out to take us by the hand. Little girl, get up. Little girl, get up. We have a powerful, loving, persistent understanding of God in Jesus. Jesus gives us a politics, a way of understanding the incarnated God, the God who is present in each and every single body. Our bodies are sacred, our lives are sacred. Yours, mine, the stranger, the immigrant, the woman's, every single body and all of its many needs. And in this story, we join our stories, and we hopefully feel that bubble coming up that calls us to say, get up, get up, get up, get up. I love you and I need you. Amen.